This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so last class we discussing about uh, CLI, or what we can say that it is a bash shell basically. Okay, so previously if you observe this Azure related services like resource group, virtual network, or even some sub network, right? And finally we have created some virtual machine. So these things basically we have created by using graphical user interface. Within the Azure cloud account. So just we are trying to create it, right? So now same services. So if you want to create by using some CLI or by using some bash shell, so nothing but what we can say that. So by using some commands. Okay, so how can we do that? So by using these commands, we are able to create the same services, right? We are able to create the same services by using commands here. That is the only difference. Except that remaining things are same. Okay, so if you want to access this virtual machine, so definitely we require some putty software if it is a Linux machine, or if you want to access some Windows machine, so we require some RDP software. So these things is common. Only difference is, so there we have created by using graphical user interface. Here we have created by using some what we call by using commands. That is the only difference. But here if you observe, here each and every command we are just copy pasting. Okay, so this command we are copy pasting, and after that we are trying to export this command. So after we try to export this command, so each and every command we are trying to copy paste sequentially. Okay, so after creating some resource group, after execution of resource group, so just we are copy pasting some virtual network command, right? After this virtual network is done, we are copy pasting some network security group. So if you observe these commands, we are just copy pasting each and everything as a sequentially, right? So instead of copy pasting each and every command, why can't we paste all these commands in a single file, try to execute or try to deploy that file? So that thing we have achieved by using these respective commands here. So just we have created some file within this bash shell, right? So before that, so if you want to execute this all the commands in a single file, or if you want to try to execute that file, we require some editor. Okay, so nothing but within this bash shell, if you want to get some editor like a Visual Studio, we're having a predefined command called as code space dot. So whenever if you enter, or whenever if you type this command, or if you click on this enter, so you're able to get some Visual Studio editor within the bash shell only. Within the Azure cloud account itself. Try to create some file. Within that file, try to copy paste all these respective commands and try to execute that file. Okay, so just it will take around some 2 to 3 minutes. All these services it is going to create within the Azure cloud account itself. The only difference is whenever if you're going with some GUI interface, it may take some 5 to 10 minutes of time if you want to create all of these services. But by using the bash shell, so it is taking less time to create. That is the one of the advantage whenever if you're going with this respect to command base. Okay, so these things we discussed. So and then we discussed about some points related to the hierarchy of Azure account. So these things anyway, all of these things. So out of this thing, each resource group will have some multiple virtual network. Each virtual network will have some multiple sub network. Each virtual version will have all the above things. These things we discussed. So any doubts till now? Any of you? Is it fine till now?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I have one
Yes.
on
Yes.
the multiple subscription ID. Yeah,
Multiple.
I know that account will have multiple subscription IDs, subscriptions. Right? Second point.
This one.
Yeah,
Yes.
each
Each
tenant ID
account
will have
or each
multiple.
tenant ID will have multiple subscription. We can create that multiple subscription IDs. So let us go to here. So here currently I have only one subscription ID, right? Here you can create one more subscription if you want. Got it? So that single account or single
Okay.
tenant ID will have multiple subscriptions. Okay, that is this point. Is it
For
fine?
every subscription, we will generate it separately. Am I correct?
No, your voice is breaking. For
For every for every subscription ID, we will get the bill, right?
yes, if you are going
Depends on
with pay as
subscription
you go,
ID.
if you are going with pay as you go
My
account,
doubt
if you are at free trial, it will not get it. Okay.
Okay, if I go to pay as you go account, so I have multiple clients are there for me. So I will get the bill generate. I will generate the bill accordingly, right? If I give the subscription IDs differently.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So here, if you observe, whenever if you're trying to create some resource group, so click on create. Here it is going to ask it which subscription ID you want. So you can choose it here. Based upon that, your billing activity is going to generate it for that respect to subscription. Okay.
Okay, understood. Okay.
So here we are going to provide one node point. So then we can continue the remaining things. So let me create one resource group basically. So maybe some Azure test, extracts, make sure you can create, finally click on create. So then I'm trying to create some virtual networks. So here I'm giving maybe some Azure underscore VNet, something like this. Next IP address. So 10.11.0.0 slash something like that's up. So Azure test underscore subnet. So 10.11.1.0 slash 24. Okay. So here if you observe this 10.11.1.0 to 10.11.1.255. So out of this, so as I mentioned, if you go with some IPv4, basically we are able to create some. What is the range here? 0 to 255, right? So now nothing but simply we can say that we can create some 256 IP addresses here, and out of this 256, 251 we can create because remaining 5 are Azure reserved address, nothing but internal communication in between these respective services. This remaining 5 Azure reserved addresses. So simply we can say that we can create 251 IP addresses, or simply we can say that 256. Okay, while creating subnet, we are providing some 10.11 dot something. We are providing slash 24, right? In which we are allocating 256 IP addresses, out of which 5 IP addresses for communication purpose, and remaining we have 251 IP address in which we can create 251 virtual machines. Okay, for simply we can say that for single virtual network, right, we can create 251 virtual machines. So here 251 is there, right? This 251 virtual machines we can create here. It is possible. So if you want, we can create. Okay. So the same point just I'm going to mention here. So while creating subnet, we are providing maybe some 10.11.1.0 slash 24 in which we are allocating 256 IP IP addresses, out of which 5 IP addresses for the communication purpose, and remaining we have 251, right, addresses in which we can create 251 virtual machines, or simply we can say that for a single virtual network or subnet we can create or we can deploy 251 virtual machines. Okay, this is the important one basically. Okay, so here if you observe, click on add, next security, next tags, next you can create, finally click on create. So after creating this virtual network, just I'm trying to create a one more virtual network here. Sorry, one more subnet, not virtual network, one more subnet. So go to this virtual network. So if you want to create a one more subnet, so you can create it here. Click on subnet. So maybe some Azure test underscore subnet one, something like this. So click on save. So I'm creating a one more thing, maybe some Azure test underscore subnet two. On save. So now here, whenever if you're trying to create some virtual machines, click on create. So Azure test, right? So I'm giving some Linux machine, maybe some Linux machine one. Go with password. So providing some username, and then next go with standard SSD. Next networking. So here if you observe, this is the VNet, whatever the VNet which I have created, Azure underscore VNet. And if you observe these subnets, right? So how many subnets we have created here? So we have created 3 subnets, right? So you can choose any of the subnet for this respective virtual machine. If you're trying to create a one more virtual machine, right? So you can choose either Azure test subnet one. So maybe some Azure test subnet two. So like this you can choose it. Otherwise, so if you're going with some Azure test subnet one, right? So finally, if you created some virtual machine, if you want to create a one more virtual machine, so you can follow by same virtual network followed by some same subnet as well. Or if you want this, you can go with same VNet followed by some different subnets. What are the subnets which are created? This is the option what we have. So that is the reason for single VNet we can create how many IP addresses here? Sorry, how many IP addresses or how many virtual machines? So we can create some 251 out of 56. 5 for internal communication, 251 IP addresses or 251 virtual machines we can create it basically. Okay, is it fine? Any doubts here, any of you? Any doubts? Just I'm deleting. Okay, fine. So if you observe in this bash shell, or if you observe this command base, so I have mentioned something like some network security group or network security role. So anyway, you have some knowledge on network security role, but you don't have some knowledge on network security group. So now we're going to discuss about this network security group, or what is the reason to go for network security group as well, basically. Okay, so now we're going to discuss about network security. So basically, what is this network security group? As I mentioned, you group of network security rules. Okay, group of network security rules. So then, what about this network security rule, which you know already? Yellow or disallow inbound and outbound traffic. So if you observe based on this network security rule, or generally we're adding some add inbound port rule, right? So just we are able to allow some software. So let us assume if you have created some Windows virtual machine, if you want to access the software, right? Basically what we require some RDP. So RDP is already having some predefined port. So this port we need to allow that respect to virtual machine. So where we are configuring nothing but add inbound port rule, or we can say that we can call as an, so just be creating some security role. So these things comes under a network security role. Okay. So now this network security group, just I have mentioned as a group of network security rules. Otherwise, when we can go for this network security group concept basically. So let us assume I'm having some virtual machine, whether it is in, it can be a Windows or Linux machine. It can be any of these virtual machines. So like this I'm having basically. So imagine like this, we're having some 10 to 15 virtual machines is there. Okay. So each and every machine, what I'm doing is I'm giving some RDP. Okay, maybe some, okay, Tomcat server, maybe some HTTP. So these things I want to allow within this specific virtual machine. So like this, we're having so many ports I want to allow in this specific machine. Okay, these are the some of the ports which I mentioned. So like this, we're having so many ports will be there basically. So these ports just I want to allow in each of these respect to virtual machines. It can be a Windows or it can be some Linux machine. It can be anything. Okay. So generally what we're doing, So if you want to create a virtual machine, so we need to create some resource group, virtual network, sub network, and then we need to create some virtual machine, right? So within after creating some virtual machine, we need to add some inbound security role basically. So within that respect to inbound port rule, so we need to configure all these ports. So like this, we need to configure each and every machine. So it is going to take huge amount of time as well, right? So instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some network security group. So within this group, I'm going to provide all of these respective ports. Okay, within this respective group, I'm going to provide all of these respective ports. So once if you provide this all of these ports, network security group, so what is going to happen? So once if you configure these respective ports, whatever the port which is required for these respective virtual machines, right? So automatically it will be available to this virtual machine. So like this, it will be available to the respective virtual machine. Yes. Okay. So here let us assume I have added one more port, maybe some HTTP, HTTPS is there, maybe some SSH I have added, right? So once if you have added this SSH in this respect network security group, right? Automatically this port will be available to these respective virtual machines, whatever the virtual machines which you have. But only one condition is, so we need to create some this network security group. We need to add this network security group while creating this respective virtual machines. Then if you are modifying something, so if you added or if you removed some specific port, it will be reflected to all of these respective virtual machines here. This is nothing but a network security group. This is the reason why we need to go for network security group. So is it fine? You have got some idea what is the reason to go for network security group? So any of you is having some doubts?
Yes, I understood. But if I want to add one more security group, is it possible?
Yes,
Or-
you can add it.
Okay. For any VM, we can add any security, any number of security groups then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let us assume I have some three VMs, right? These three VMs I require only these ports, but these two VMs I require some different ports. So then you can create a one more network security group. While creating these virtual machines, you try to add that network security group. So we will discuss how to configure this network security group this respective for this respective virtual machines. Okay.
I'm asking, for example, we have existed NSG one. So if I want to add one more to the same VM, is it possible or not?
Same VM.
For the same VM, I want to add one more network security group.
Only it is possible. Only we can add only one network security group.
Okay. Then we have to add one more SSH rule in the same existed network security group, right, sir?
So here the point is, so for a single virtual machine, we are able to add only one network security group. Okay. So let us assume I have created some network security groups, maybe some three network security groups I have created. For a single virtualizations at a time, we can able to add only one network security group out of these three network security groups which I have created. Any doubts? Is your
No
doubt is
doubts.
answered?
Yeah, clear.
So this is nothing but a network security group basically. So here, whenever if you're trying to create some virtual machine, we are following some resource group, virtual network, sub network, and then we are creating some virtual machine. But here, little bit hierarchy is going to be changed. Okay. So what we need to do is to create a resource group, virtual network, subnet or sub network. Need to create some network security group. Okay. And then we need to create some virtual machine. But while creating virtual machine, while creating virtual machine, we need to add the respect to network security. So while creating virtual machine, we need to add the respect to network security group, whatever the network security group which you have created. Basically. Okay, so these things we need to do practically. So let us implement these things practically. Go to resource group. So click on create, maybe some test. Next we will create, finally click on create. So now we are able to create some virtual networks. So select the resource group, maybe some test VNet. Next IP address, add subnet, and dot 11.1.0 slash 94, and next security, next tags, next event create, finally click on create. So here we have created some resource group, virtual network and sub network as well. Now we need to create some network security group basically. So it is created basically. Okay, network security. So then we need to create some virtual machine. On create. So resource group Azure test. Maybe I'm going with some Linux machine one. So you can set the respective image and size. And I'm going with password. Provide some username and password here. And then next is go with standard SSD. Next networking. So here if you observe having some NIC network security group, right? So go to advanced. I think we have not yet created network security group, right? We have created. We have not yet created, right? Network security group. So network, go to this network security groups. Click on create. not yet created. So select the resource group. What are the resource group which I have created? Azure test. So I'm giving some network security group, maybe Azure underscore NSG. Next tags. Next review and create. Finally click on create. So basically here we have created this these four things. So then try to create some visualization. Click on create. Azure test, maybe some Linux. Go with password. Provide username and password. Next disks. Go with standard SSD. Next networking. So here if you observe, we're having some network security group. Go for advanced. So select the network security group. What are the network security group which I have created? Okay, Azure underscore NSG. So next management disable. Next advanced. Next tags. Next we can create. Finally click on create. So it is created, right? So go to this virtual machine. So if you want to access this virtual machine, right? So generally what we are doing, any of you?
If it is a Linux machine, we use putty. If it is a
Yes.
Windows
So
machine,
here
we put RDP.
basically we need to configure the port, right?
Yes,
Here we're adding some port, right? Basically. Yes or no?
correct.
Yes. So now instead of adding here, what we're going to do is, so we can go to this network security group. So click on it. As per this diagram, right, we are going to add some port in the network security group, so that this port should be available to this respect to virtual machine, whatever the virtual machine in which you have created basically. So just go to this inbound security rules, click on add. So I'm going for 22 because SSH port is 22, right? Port for SSH. Hello, put this software. Click on add. So it is created. So now if you go to here, basically here port for SSH, port is 22 basically, right? So here whatever the port in which I have added in this network security group, right? So that port it is available within this respect to line expression, whatever the line expression in which I have created. So if you want to add a one more port, maybe some HTTP, HTTP port is 80, port for HTTP. Hello, HTTP port on add. So it is created basically. Okay. So now if you observe that same port it is available here as well. Port is 8 basically. Okay. So you can cross check it. So if you want to access this Linux machine, as one of you mentioned, we require putty software. So just copy paste this public IP address in this putty software. Click on open. Click on accept. Provide username and password. Here we are able to access the respect to Linux machine, whatever the Linux machine which you have created. Only difference is instead of adding here, add inbound port rules basically, right? So we have configured inside of network security group. I mean same thing. So how we have, uh, if you observe this diagram, same way we have implemented this respect to concept as well. So uh, whatever the port or whatever the network security rule which I have added in this network security group, it will be available to the respective virtual machine, whatever the virtual machine in which you have created basically. This is nothing but a network security group. Any doubts, any of you?
Clear, but so if I given this NSG, it belongs to one virtual network, right? In the availability zone.
Availability zone. Where is availability zone here?
Normally, there the same virtual machine will be copied. I mean, in another availability zone also, right? Normally, so the same applicable to all those things, right? I mean, it depends on is any hierarchy that this network security group is up to virtual network or resource group. That is
No, not resource group these things, right? Just we are configuring network security to any virtual machine.
okay.
But if you want to create some network security group, compulsory require some what we call resource group. We need to create basically. So even if you observe why create network security group itself, it is going to add. We require some resource group, right? So based upon the resource group, so this region is going to vary.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Availability zone concept is different. So that thing we need to discuss anyway. But availability zone concept is different. Here region, basically region, whatever the region you want, you can create basically based upon the resource group. So in which region we have created resource group, that same region it will be available network security group or maybe some rich networks. These all these things. In further
Clear.
process, we are trying to create some virtual networks in different regions as well. So basically, till now, if you observe, we have created only one virtual network or maybe some one subnet, right? In further process, we try to place two virtual networks and more subnets as well. So there we're going to discuss basically. Any doubts still?
Say that this